Alright, welcome back to Tex. Great to see you. Today, we're going to start on sheet number 1. Okay, so stay tuned. There will be an assignment for this, so you'll be watching the video, doing the assignment work. So, peace! Now, first thing we're going to do is clean it in the solvent tank. It's already been done for us. Thank you, whoever's engine this was. I do appreciate that. Let's remove the air filter assembly. We will need screwdriver for that, the old flat blade. Because I'm not going to put this engine away, I'm just going to do this whole thing in one fell swoop. Put the parts off to the side over here. Check. Remove the recoil housing, starter fan assembly. Voila. There are 1, 2, 3 bolts to hold it on. They are 3/8. Someone has stolen my. Oh, there it is. Ha! I found it. Yep. There we go. So how you doing? Doing okay? Personally, I'm a little tired of fooling around with computers lately. To be honest with you, I like computers a lot. I'm getting a little tired of them. That's what I'm kind of getting tired of. I am doing a lot more walking, so that's cool, I guess. I need to just get after and start running again. But you know what? I don't feel like it. So I don't think I'm going to. For a while, anyway. Come on, get off of there. One more. Cool. Done. Alright, next, make a detailed drawing of the carburetor linkages. I'll be taking a picture of that for you. Okay. This one has the centrifugal governor on the that runs off of the camshaft inside. Same principle as the engine slows down. Oh, it pulls this way, which opens the throttle, gives it more gas, speed it back up. Starts going too fast, it comes back this direction, shuts her back down. So it always runs at a constant speed. It does not have the air vane governor like some of them do. Okay? Cool. The carburetor is screwed to the fuel tank. Check. Remember, this guide here is the kind, fuel's down here, how do I get it up? There's a diaphragm that sits underneath of this. Every time my engine pulls in, it lifts up on the diaphragm, okay? And then when it comes back down, like this, just like you sucking in, and when you suck in air, your diaphragm goes down. It creates a vacuum inside your inside your chest cavity. Air is forced into your lungs. When it comes back out, it forces it back out. Same principle with the gas. Draws it up. There's a little bit of a bowl underneath of this carburetor that it sits in. Okay, and then there's a little tube that draws it up from there, just through the regular venturi, like we talked about. Just a little different way of going about it. Also note that this carburetor does not have a choke. We know it won't have a choke because it has the primer bulb. Okay, one of 2 ways we'll richen the system up. Either we'll choke it off, we'll put less air to it, or we'll purposely insert more fuel into the stream initially to get the thing running. One of the 2 will happen. Okay. Anyway, it is part of the gas tank, so we're not going to remove it from the tank. That's cool. So we're going to remove this. We're going to do that by taking this bolt out. And this bolt out right here. This little fella is also a 3/8. Come on now. Come on now. Whee! Okay, then off to the side. The other one's a 1/2 inch. And you're going to need an extension to get to him, because he's kind of buried in there. And where are all of my... extension! Well, I guess we'll use this. Cool. I do enjoy using those little guys anyways, but whatever. Some ding dong, tighten it up a little too tight than it probably needed to be. Okay, cool. Now, This one's a little different because of how this spring has been attached. That's not exactly factory right there. So we'll take that spring off. We're going to take the carburetor, we're going to pull it out. It's going to pull off of the intake tube right here. Just like that. Okay, nothing's lost. Be careful. Some of you, on your other engines, you saw them earlier, just had just this spacer piece. This one, the spacer sits inside this deal here. This little piece of tin, in addition to helping guide some air, protects this cable, this linkage right here, so it doesn't get bent or damaged at all. Okay? Now just twist the carburetor a little bit like so. Come on, get off of there now. There you go. Come on. There you go. And it sits off to the side. This is what's referred to as a Z-bend. Okay, they just hang like that. And then this piece, this linkage piece will come off as well. That way we won't damage it. Yeah. Alright, we're on step 9. Cool. Oops, wait. No, we're not. We're on step 8. We need to remove the breather tube. Now, this breather tube goes in here, comes across, goes into this cover right here, which has access to the crankcase. Remember, when the piston, the piston comes up and it's compressing air, right? And it's compressing the air and the fuel. And then when the fire happens, it starts forcing it down on the power stroke. A little bit of the gases will get past the rings, and they will end up in the crankcase. Okay, well, they have to go somewhere. So what this does is it allows those gases to be drawn over here and then back up into the carburetor and then burned again. They're perfectly good gas, so let's go ahead and burn it. Otherwise, you'd have to have a breather because the pressure in here would become great after a while, and it'd be vented into the atmosphere, which, yes, Greta Thunberg or whatever her name is would not be happy about that, number one. But number two, you're wasting fuel. Okay, that was your fuel. They got pushed past the rings. Let's get it back and let's go ahead and burn the stuff. Okay, make sure we're still in frame here. Okay, we are. Excellent. So, if we're equipped with a flywheel brake, we're going to use a socket and set it to the side. Okay, that's this piece right here. Okay, when you let go of the handle like this, this brake will have this will be hooked to a cable. It'll hook to the when you're squeezing it, it's pulled back like this. When you let go, this brake comes over here and rubs against the flywheel. That in itself is not enough to stop the engine from turning. Okay? What this piece here does, however, though, is it comes underneath of this coil wire and it shorts the coil out. So in other words, instead of sending spark to the coil, to the spark plug, it just grounds it out to the block. No more spark, no more run. Okay? There is a factory spec for this back that the government set years ago. I can't remember exactly what it is and how fast it has to kill the engine, but it's pretty darn fast. Again, the idea being, if the neighbor's cat runs underneath your lawnmower or something, you let go of the thing, and hopefully it shuts off before it completely chops it up. Okay, that's a joke. Okay, no one's gonna hit the cat. It's okay. It's more like you're gonna be your toes or something. But the idea being is that it needs to shut off quickly. In the old days, we didn't have such things, and people would routinely get cut up and hurt and damaged. And then there you go. So that'd be a problem. The idea behind shutting them off like that, when you let go, is so that they can't just take off and run people over. For instance, let's say you had a self-propelled mower, and it just took off by itself, and you didn't have that. You just ghost riding down the street, run through the neighbor's petunias, run over the neighbor's deaf cat. I don't know. Horrible things could happen, right? So we have these safety features that are built in. When you let go of the handle, the thing just shuts off. Okay, it's a pretty neat deal, and no one's really going to get hurt by not having that ability to keep it going by itself. Okay, we're going to remove the flywheel mesh guard with the socket. Make sure you can see that. Okay, that socket in there. Now remember, we have these special flywheel holder tools, which are handy. And if you're working on these things all the time, they're pretty handy tools. You do them once in a while at home. There are other ways to do this. What you do is you find the right sized one, set it down like so the bench helps hold it. This is one of the few places where you're going to be using a bigger socket. So you want a 1/2 inch drive on this guy. Yep. And so here we go. The 15/16 if you're playing along at home. Ah! No. Someone overdid the torque on the gas tank bolt, but they did not overdo the torque on this guy. Okay, now in theory, should be a washer under there, but there's not, which doesn't surprise me. They get lost frequently. Okay, and now we're down to here. All right, cool. Using the flywheel. Oh boy, now we're gonna pull this baby off. Now, I will show you 2 ways to do it. First, we'll use the puller. First, we'll use the puller, as I say. I have to look at the other parts for it in a second. And then I will also show you another way to do it. Matter of fact, I think I'll show you the other way right now. For somebody, and I don't have my flywheel puller, I don't have the flywheel, the regular puller, okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to locate where the magnet is. It's right here. If you're not too sharp on this, oh look, that's where the magnet is. Never, ever, ever, ever touch this thing with any tool. Period. Right there, where the magnet is. Okay? Now, that means for pulling, that means for anything. Don't ever pull from there. Don't ever do what I'm going to do from there. Now, always, if you're going to try this, rubber mallet. Rubber mallet. Can I stress it? Rubber mallet. I will not be held responsible for you breaking mommy's lawnmower. Okay? A little tappy, tappy, tappy right there. A little tappy, 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 tappy. A little tappy, tappy, tappy. So the puller, the way it works is these jaws hook on the back side of it down here. Okay? And then when I force this spring down, or this screw down rather, it'll catch it, and then when I push down on this, it's going to force this up the threads, and it's going to pull the flywheel off of the shaft. At least that's the plan, kids. Remember, never ever, ever, ever do anything on the magnets. This is a little too wide to adjust this in a skosh. It'll be, oh, hippie. I'll get it started, then I'll get out of your way so you can see what's going on. Grandma can't see, your fat self's in the way. Sorry, it's rude, but you're right. Okay, there we have it. Just barely have it caught, so I'm going to be careful when I do it. I'm going to tighten down on this thing. I'm going to be a little careful, I'm going to go a little slow. There will likely be a big bang when it lets go, which, by the way, always scares the crap out of me. Just you're ready for it, or you think, oh, it slipped off. Darn it. You think you're ready for it, and then it happens, and it still scares you every single time. It's kind of annoying, actually, that it does, but it does. All right. Hopefully those won't splay out anymore. Okay, now, it's at this juncture where sometimes a little bit of help from a tap helps. There she comes. Alright, a little scary sometimes. You'll be okay. Alright, so we're back, stupid battery. Now, you notice that the shaft is tapered. The inside of this is tapered as well, and that's just a nice, tight, pressed-on fit. That's all it is. Again, you see all the dirt and crap in here. This thing's never been off. Inside there, you'll find this cute little key. We talked about this in class. Make sure you don't lose him. If I can zoom on it a little bit. Focus. Kind of. Whatever. Anyways, that little keyway right there, little key, it's kind of expensive for what it is. Alright, what it does, it just holds that shaft, holds that flywheel on the shaft is designed to brake if you ever hit something hard, like a rock. It's designed to brake, and then the flywheel will turn on the shaft a little bit. That will advance the timing, and when it does that, it'll go too far, and remember, timing is everything. It'll shut the engine off, so you don't hurt anything. Okay? All right. All right, where are we at? Good, 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 good. Pulled that off. Nice. Remove the, oh, you do not have points. Okay? So we're going to jump down here to 16. It does not have an air vane governor, but we are going to remove the ignition coil. That's, again, this piece right here. I have too many projects going on. I've got stuff going everywhere. I can't find what I'm looking for. Coil coming off. Again, I like a nice little nut driver. It's really hard to over tighten something with a nut driver. Yeah, again, this coil may have been bad, but you see all the crap built up in here? That is not helping us at all. Okay? The magnet looks nice and clean, but oftentimes the magnets will get kind of grossed up. You have a bad connection. It's been sitting around for years. Doesn't like it very good. So we'll clean all that up. Should work. If not, we'll put a different coil on it. If this is a vertical crank engine, which it is, we're going to remove the intake manifold. That's this guy right here. So remember, when the air comes through the carburetor, it'll come down through here, turn, and then go down through the intake valve. Just in behind here, you will see the intake valve. That's where it lives. Notice that this guy is made out of plastic. The one I took off of that big motor yesterday is made out of cast iron. There's a little difference in weight there, just a little bit. Remove the valve lifter cover with a socket. Okay, valve lifter cover is this guy. Okay, I believe that's 5/16. Oh, I was wrong. It's quarter. I feel like a quarter, but it is. This little piece of tin sits on here, so don't lose him. Also, this little keeper, it just clips onto here. That holds that coil wire for us. So that coil wire runs around from where the brake was back around to the coil to kill it. That holds it out of the way so it doesn't get hung up in the flywheel at all, which would be, you know, not optimal. There we go. Set those off to the side. Cool. All right. Remove the spark plug using a plug socket. We can do that, friend. We have the technology. Well, heck, I thought we had the technology. Here it is. You're going to put it back out of the way somewhere. Okay. Yeah! Now, presumably, we looked at this when we had it out the other day. That's pretty grossed up, pretty carbon fouled. We'll clean that off good before we put it back in, or we may give it a new one. Set that off to the side. Okay. Cool. So here's our cylinder head bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Notice that this piece of tin, the carburetor bolts to, hangs off to the side away from the exhaust. So just keep that in mind as you're taking this apart. You've got to put it all back together. Well, you don't. I have to put it all back together. But in theory, you would have to put it all back together. So you would want to pay attention to where it goes. Just saying. So I'm going to go ahead and take them loose now. Really going to pay attention to where they were, in case any of them were particularly longer than another. Some of these, usually not the 9s and 10s, but some of them will have longer bolts in different places. Kind of also depended on what was bolted on top of them. So sometimes you'd have a, come on, you hippie. Goodness sakes. Somebody got a little carried away there. Ah! And I was not putting on for TV. That was, wow. Anywho, sometimes there'll be a longer one in one place or another because the head's thicker. Sometimes there'll be something that's held on by a head bolt. So of course, You'll need a longer head bolt to hold that on. Just really depends. Part of the reason these were on a little tight, these bolts are made out of steel. The heads, the whole engine's made out of aluminum, as you well know. And so aluminum and steel tend to go together. We will be using Never-Seez when we put it back together, so that doesn't happen again. But as you know, this engine was made, well, I can't tell you when it was made, it's part of your other assignment. By the way, it was not made in 1908, for gosh sakes. Someone wrote that. 1908. Briggs and Stratton weren't even a company in 1908 as far as I know. Certainly this engine is not that old, friend. It didn't have push-button carburetors in 2008, in 1908. Those three are all the same. Lengthwise, all those are the same still. Judas Priest, you hippie. Tight, how tight can a person be? Get out of there. All right, finally. Holy buckets. Quote the great Mr. Patterson. Okay? Give a little tappy tappy. Here comes our head. You look inside, everything's nice and gross and disgustingly carboned up in here. That means it's not been burning very well. Probably been running a little rich. Probably been burning a little bit of oil over the years too. That's classic. Remember that the extra oil that you see in here is part of the oil that I put in there from the other day when we did a wet compression test. Let me go ahead and clean that up so I don't have to look at it anymore because it kind of grosses me out. Mucho better. All right, what's next? Next on our list, get Mr. Groom to sign off. I already did that. Cool. Oh, I already removed them. Sweet. You remember the blade holder? It came off, it fell off. I'm going to pause you in just a minute. But first, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to pause you, and I'll do it while the camera is off. We've taken some of this sandpaper, which is basically sandpaper. It's emery cloth. We're going to clean up the shaft like so. And we will clean it up pretty darn good. Get all this rust off that we can. Because it has to slip through a little rubber seal right here. Okay? Now most of our new kits these days for gasket sets don't come with the new seal. And I think I have one or two extras kicking around. So I'll probably change it since this is a first time rebuild. I'll come back to you in a minute. Alright, so we're back. I got that nice and cleaned up. All the rust is off of it now. That's awesome. Okay, there we go. Now, we need to explain to our instructor, that's moi, what the various strokes of the cylinder of the engine are as we turn it. Now, clearly this guy here is the intake. I know that because on this side is where the intake manifold went. Okay, so clearly the intake valve currently is open. Okay, so the question is, well, okay, what are we going to do about that? Does that mean we're on the intake stroke or what? So let me turn this thing, see what happens. I'm turning it. And as I'm turning it, the valve, the intake is open. Well, that's just weird. As it's coming up, the intake valve was open. That's weird. So what I have is a situation where I need to turn this viewed from the PTO side. I need to turn it counterclockwise. So I turn this way. The piston is going down. Intake is open. That's the intake stroke. Coming up on compression. Boom! Going down on power. Whee! Coming back up on the exhaust stroke. Bam, and now there goes intake again. Okay? So when we do that, make sure that you're aware of those strokes again. that will continue to be harped on. I will continue to pound you guys with that. What's happening on this stroke? What's happening on this stroke? It's a big deal. Remove the bolts. Take off the side cover. So that's this guy right here. This is also referred to sometimes as the PTO cover. Okay? Power takeoff is what that means. So on every engine there's a side where you're going to, quote, get the power from. This is the side where the power goes out. In this case, to turn a blade on a lawnmower, sometimes it's to turn a generator, chainsaw, you know, whatever it happens to be. So the side where the power comes off of, that's the power takeoff side. Sometimes referred to, as I said, as PTO. That is the abbreviation for power takeoff. Okay. Come on, Betsy. Give it to me. Mr. Groom, you animal. Yes, I am. Merciful heavens. Sucker's tight. Yes, I could use a larger ratchet, but I don't feel like it. So, break them all loose, run them out with this nut driver. Just find the easiest way to do it. Okay, once they're all out, take those nuts and bolts out, set them off to the side. Technically they're screws, right, kids? Why? Because they screw into something. They don't have a nut on the end of them. It would make them a bolt, technically. But again, will not mark you wrong. So you refer to it as such. Okay? Little tippy. Come on, Betsy. There you go. Come on, Shimon now. There she comes. Here she comes, Miss America. Nasty, sludgy inside. We'll get that all cleaned up. Okay? And then now for the fun, friends. So inside, okay, this is part of the governor assembly. Okay? So as this thing starts to go faster and faster and faster, as this spins faster, these little deals pop out to the side and this little nubbin comes out. Wee. That nubbin pushes down this shaft, like so, which then runs the linkage, which then opens the carburetor up and sends more fuel and air to the engine so it runs faster. As it slows down, this little tip comes back in. This guy, remember, this is all in a spring, so it's going to come back this direction and it's going to shut down the carburetor and slow it down. So we'll go ahead and set that off to the side. Okay. Oh, no. If you look here on the camshaft and the crankshaft, you will find, first of all, on the crankshaft, you will find a little washer, a little spacer washer. I'm going to take it off for right now because I want you to be able to see something. And then after I take it off, I'll zoom in on what I want you to see. Okay, so right there, and I'll see if I can zoom in on it a little bit. Maybe some light would help. Right here, there's a little mark on this gear, on the crank gear, right there, and there's a divot right there on the cam gear. Those are called the timing marks. When we put those together, and this engine back together, it's imperative those are lined up. Now, people often mistakenly think that means that the engine should be at top dead center. In fact, no, it's not at top dead center, or at bottom dead center, or anywhere else. It's kind of in a weird spot where both valves are closed. If both valves are closed, there's no pressure on the cam at all, and I can just pull the camshaft out happy as you please. Okay? Again, that right at that point when I pulled it out, both spots were like this, not on the lobes, they're on the side, on the base circle we call that. Okay? Then we're going to pull the lifters out. Now, the lifters look like so. It's important to keep track of which one's which. So what I normally do is I pull this one out. This one's the first one I came to. This is the exhaust one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the engraver and I'm going to engrave a little E on the back side of it here. I'll figure the other one out pretty easily all by myself. I'm pretty sharp that way since there's only two of them. Sometimes, most of the time they're the same, but every now and again they're not, so pay attention to which one's which. Okay? Ah, my nose. Okay? Now this engine has never been apart, as I said. Okay? So therefore there's never been any marks done in here on the rod cap. So I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to go get a paint pen and make a mark on this side so that I know that the cap and the rod get hooked back together appropriately. Okay, so again, I'm just going to take the old paint pen and I'm going to put some color on both sides of that rod cap. Okay, and I got a little carried away, so that's great, Mr. Groom. Nice job, dummy. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take those bolts off right there and right there. That's 3/8. Ah! Okay. Come on, get out of there. You can do it. I have faith in you. You got this. The riveting TV. This just in. For Sweeps Weeks, Mr. Groom's going to tear apart a lawnmower. It'll be great. Everybody will watch. Forget about that stupid, I don't know. Forget about that dumb show that everybody watches. I can't remember the name of it because I don't watch it, but everyone's always talking about it. You know the one I mean. Oh, for Pete's sake. Yes, you do. Everybody knows it. Just listen to Caitlin. She's telling you. You can hear her saying it right now. All right. It's almost out. Come on, you got this. There, she fell down. That's not optimal. Bolt out. Of course, the rod cap is aluminum, so the magnet's a little less than useful in that case. Okay, now what you can do is go ahead and turn the crankshaft like this. Okay, it forced the piston to the top, but the piston's loose. It was just riding up there. So reach in there, push up on the crankshaft, and out comes your piston. Now that was riveting TV. Put the two halves of this back together for now. Go ahead and put your rod bolts back in. We'll set that off to the side. Ooh, as I said, a little bit grossed up from the carbon. Not the end of the world. And now, crankshaft can come out. Set her off to the side. And that, my friends, with the exception of the exhaust pipe, muffler if you would rather call it that. And then the valves, we gotta get the valves out. This engine is completely torn down. Let me get the compressor. All right, we're almost there. Now remember, we're going to catch the springs in these little cups, okay? And it's easier said than done sometimes, but you're going to want to come in like so. And it's got to be tight enough it'll fit in the hole here. And you're going to jam it in. Ah! And you're going to tighten this baby down. You're compressing the spring, literally compressing the spring. And now I'm just going to reach in there and I'm going to grab this valve and I'm going to hold it in my hand as I wiggle and wiggle and wiggle and dinkle fart with the keeper, because I have to get the keeper to come out. And to do that requires some finesse, something that I was never very good at as a child. My dad used to yell at me because I had zero finesse. I was all brute force. And I always broke things as a child. I know, personal problems, Mr. Groom. We don't need your stories. There it comes. Okay? Remember, on here, this little keeper hole, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to wiggle to get this to come over into there so I can slide it off. When we get it back on later, we'll wiggle it back into there. It can't come out right there. Okay? Loosen the spring back up. And set her back off to the side. No need to mark which valve is which unless you are really spatially challenged. They are different sizes, for heaven's sakes, sir, ma'am. Pretty hard to screw it up. Mr. Groom, there's like a 1/4-inch gap on this one valve. It's because you got the wrong one in the wrong hole, you goob. So pay attention to what you're doing. But you really, as I say, I make fun of that because you really can't screw that up. I mean, that would be embarrassing. Mr. Groom, I think I have the wrong valve in the wrong hole. Maybe, yeah, maybe. Pay attention. Okay, so wiggle, 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 wiggle. Gentle now. Gentle. Be patient. Be patient. Don't be in such a hurry. Did I just sing on camera? I did. Come on, get off of there, you hippie. Come on. Come on now. Come on. Talk to it nicely. No, it doesn't like you. Oh, it's hurtful. It's hurtful. It hurt my feelers. Okay. Peek in there, see what I'm doing wrong. I'm not getting the hole lined up quite correctly. Oh, I see. I slipped off of one side of the spring a little bit. I'm going to get a little better grip on it, so hopefully I can tighten down and compress it a little tighter. But as I say, I slipped a little bit on this back side. So I'm going to, oh, hey, look at that. And in getting it back off, I actually got it loose. Well, what do you know? You screwed something up, Mr. Groom, and it actually worked out. Okay? Really kind of hard to screw up one of these lawnmower engines, to be honest with you. A few things you can do. I've done them all. Usually it's something dumb like, oh, I broke the flywheel. I take it back. This engine has been apart before, but it's been quite some years ago. In here, and it's hard to see it, on the intake valve, that's been repaired in there where it goes. Oh, you can't see that too good. I'll try to get a better picture with my other camera. It's been repaired before, so they took this in. It was probably smoking, and then they drilled it out and repaired that valve. So interesting. So it apparently has been apart before, but not by us.